Chosen one, before you decide whether this message is for you, notice something. Perhaps lately you've had an ordinary moment to drive home, a quiet kitchen, a sleepless night when nothing around you changed. Yet something inside you did. If that has happened, stay with me, because moments like these are rarely as ordinary as they seem. Some moments quietly become turning points before we recognize them. I believe this is one of those moments. God is bringing forth something unique to this season, not because of history or achievement, but because of the particular story of your life, the prayers no one heard, the longing you carried, and the faithfulness that remained even when no one knew you were still holding on. He has been looking for a heart that stayed tender through the waiting. Many people protected themselves by becoming harder. Somehow, through unanswered questions and lonely nights, something gentle remained alive in you. That tenderness was never weakness. It became the place where this next season could begin. Maybe only days ago you almost stopped believing. Yet here you are. You stayed, not because everything made sense, but because something deeper refused to let go. That was always the qualification. Not perfection, but the willingness to keep turning toward God, even when certainty felt distant. There is a door before you, unlike any you have faced before. It was shaped with your life in mind. What is coming is not meant to overwhelm you, but to fit the person you have become through every unseen season, every unanswered prayer, and every quiet act of faith. So stay with me, take one slow breath, and notice the room around you. It may seem ordinary, yet the holiest moments often arrive without announcing themselves. This is not empty encouragement. It is an invitation to recognize what has been unfolding beneath the surface for much longer than you realized. By the end of this message, I believe you will understand why this season has felt unlike any other. Together we will uncover 3 layers of truth, discover a simple practice for the days ahead, and see why stillness has prepared you more faithfully than striving ever could. Dawn never argues with the darkness. It simply begins as the faintest change in the sky. That is what has been happening inside you. The darkness has not disappeared all at once. It has slowly grown thinner, long before your mind found words for it. Think of the years when no one saw your struggle. The whispered prayers, the tears no one noticed, the moments you wondered if anyone understood. God saw every one of them. Nothing you carried was overlooked. The weight you have carried has never been ordinary. Because no one could name it, you may have wondered if you imagined it. You did not. There is a loneliness in carrying something you cannot explain, and perhaps that is why no success, relationship, or season of rest ever reached the deepest place within you. What has remained unnamed is finally ready to be recognized. Stay through this message intentionally. Before it ends, 3 truths will unfold. You will see your seasons of delay differently, revisit 2 lives from sacred history, and receive a simple practice to help you carry what God is forming within you. Perhaps you have already noticed the signs. Feelings rise during ordinary moments without explanation. Peace, sorrow, or quiet conviction appears unexpectedly. These are more than passing emotions. Sometimes the heart begins releasing what it has protected long before the mind understands why. You may also feel that places where you once belonged no longer fit. Conversations leave you empty. Familiar environments feel too small. You have not become difficult. You have simply outgrown spaces that were only meant for a season. Beneath everything you do, something keeps pressing upward like a seed ready to break through the soil. Perhaps there are words you need to write, something you feel called to create, or a truth waiting to be spoken. What you have called restlessness may be God's preparation stirring within you. You may even notice moments of quiet knowing a person's name comes to mind before they call. You sense the atmosphere of a room before anyone speaks, or you feel change approaching before it arrives. Rather than dismissing these moments, pay attention. Sometimes what has been sleeping within you begins waking as a new season draws near. Have you noticed how life no longer responds to force? The right opportunity appears after you release your grip. Timing begins to make sense only after surrender replaces striving. You are not imagining these patterns. Something beneath the surface has been quietly rearranging your life. Pause for one slow breath. In a world constantly demanding your attention, you are still here. That tells me something inside. You recognized this conversation before your mind understood why. 3 truths have been growing quietly within you. The first seems simple, yet it changes everything. What you have been calling delay, God has been calling exactness. What looked like wasted time was careful preparation. The years you believed were lost formed capacities no other season could have given you. Closed doors redirected you with remarkable precision. Even relationships that ended made room for what your life is now being asked to carry. Think of Hannah. Her deepest longing remained unanswered for years, yet her waiting was never empty. During those hidden seasons, God preserved a tenderness that allowed her to carry a calling far greater than she could see. Chosen one, perhaps that is your story as well. This slow season has never been proof that you were forgotten. It has been the careful shaping of a life strong enough to carry what comes next without losing its tenderness. If your answer had arrived years ago, it would have met someone who was not yet ready. Today, you stand here as the person God has quietly formed through every unanswered question, every hidden tear, and every moment you chose to keep your heart open. That is why this season has unfolded exactly as it has. Chosen one, if the answer you prayed for had arrived 5 or even 10 years ago, you would have received it as someone who was not yet ready to carry it. Life has changed you in ways no mirror could reveal. It bent you without breaking you, stretched your faith without silencing it, and shaped a quiet strength through every delay. The person listening today is no longer the one who first whispered those prayers. And that transformation is why this new season can finally meet you. What felt painfully slow was never working against you. It was teaching you to hold what could never have been placed into unsteady hands. Slowness was never your enemy. It was your teacher. Yet everything we have uncovered so far is only the beginning. There is another layer beneath it, one that reaches beyond the language you have used to explain your life. Once you hear it, you may never see your past the same way again. What you have learned about delay being divine precision is true, but it is only the doorway. The deeper truth reveals not only why the waiting mattered, but what it was quietly creating within you all along. Many people speak about becoming a better version of themselves, as though God simply refines what already exists. But that is too small for what He is doing. He is not polishing your old life. He is bringing forth something your old understanding cannot fully contain. Before we name it, notice what has already been formed beneath the surface. Your wilderness years were never empty. Even when you could not see it, God was shaping you. The first thing He preserved was your tenderness. While disappointment hardened many hearts, something precious remained alive within yours. You may have mistaken that tenderness for weakness, wondering if you were simply too sensitive for this world. But what survived inside you became part of the very foundation of your calling. The fact that you can still trust after everything you have endured is not evidence of weakness. It is evidence that something sacred was protected. Hearts that have completely closed cannot carry what heaven places into open hands. The second thing being formed was your discernment. There were seasons when heaven seemed silent and every prayer felt unanswered. Yet beneath that silence your spirit was learning to recognize God's voice apart from fear, apart from the crowd, and apart from your own need for certainty. You may have called it dryness or a dark night of the soul, but silence was teaching you a kind of listening that only silence can teach. When God speaks again, your heart will recognize His voice because it has learned its sound. There was a third work taking place as well. It was deeper than patience. God was forming the ability to remain faithful without forcing outcomes, creating your own answers, or rushing ahead simply to escape uncertainty. That kind of trust cannot be explained. It can only be lived. Perhaps you believed your life had paused while everyone else kept moving. But what looked like stillness from your perspective was careful preparation from heavens. Trust this deep could never be hurried. Then we come to the words of Isaiah. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Most of us hear the word new and imagine something recent or improved. But the original Hebrew carries a far deeper meaning. The word is chadash. It does not simply mean newer than before. It speaks of something that has never existed, a work born directly from God's creative purpose, untouched by comparison and beyond every category the past can offer. Hear what that means. God is not promising you a better version of your old life. He is bringing forth something unprecedented. What is taking shape within you cannot be explained by who you used to be, and those who only know your past may need time before they understand what they are seeing. This is why comparison has been losing its grip on you. You have been measuring yourself with standards that were never designed for this season. Chosen one, what God is releasing through your life was never meant to repeat someone else's story. Think about Mary. She had no platform, no remarkable position, and no reason anyone would have expected history to remember her. Yet, when heaven sought someone to carry what had never been carried before, it was not her achievements that qualified her. It was her willingness to say yes. She did not receive every answer before she agreed. She simply said, "Let it be unto me according to your word." That quiet surrender became the doorway through which the unprecedented entered the world. Perhaps that is where this message meets you today. The next chapter of your life does not depend on having perfect clarity or a flawless plan. It begins with a heart willing to agree with what God is forming before it can fully understand it. Often surrender comes before certainty. Chosen one, even now, preparation is unfolding beneath the surface where your eyes cannot yet see. Foundations are being laid, and what is growing within you has no template in your past and no pattern borrowed from someone else's story. And even this is not the deepest truth. There is still one more layer waiting beneath everything we have uncovered together. And when this final truth is spoken, it will become far more than another idea to consider. It will quietly reshape the way you understand your entire life, why your path looked different, why the timing felt unusual, and why your story never resembled anyone else's. Stay with me for one more breath. Some truths are not fully understood the moment they are heard. They continue unfolding long after the words have faded. Take another slow breath and simply remain here. Most messages stop where they become comfortable. This one has asked you to stay with silence, reflection, and truths that could not be rushed. The fact that you are still here matters. Recognition is meeting recognition. There is a reason we kept returning to the places where something inside you seemed to grow quiet. The fearless child you once were did not disappear overnight. Wonder, openness, and trust were slowly covered by disappointment, responsibility, and the quiet work of survival. Even the tension beneath so many of your decisions has been telling that story all along. What faded within you and what made receiving difficult are not the same wound, though they often feel like one. One part of you longs to trust again, while another still remembers the pain of disappointment. Healing begins when you recognize those movements instead of mistaking them for your identity. Now let everything we have uncovered become still. The deepest layer changes the question itself. For years you may have asked, why me? Why has my path been so different? Why has everything taken so long? Those questions are understandable, but perhaps they were never the ones your heart truly needed answered. The deeper question has always been, why now? That single shift changes everything. The waiting, the silence, the unanswered prayers, and the unexpected turns begin to reveal a different meaning. Yet one quiet obstacle has stood between you and that understanding, and it has never been outside of you. Somewhere along the way, a belief settled into your heart that extraordinary things were meant for someone else. Over time, that whisper stopped sounding like fear and started sounding like common sense. Perhaps you have heard it before. This message is true. But probably not for me. Someone else is more ready. Someone with fewer mistakes would fit this story better. Those thoughts disguised themselves as humility, but they were never humility. They became the final veil keeping you from seeing yourself the way God has always seen you. Chosen one, receive this slowly. You're allowed to believe that God's invitation includes you. You're allowed to outgrow the limits your past placed around your name. You do not need permission to become the person God has been quietly forming through every hidden season. The answer to why now has never been that you finally earned it. It is not because you became worthy enough. Grace has never rested on deserving. Something deeper has been unfolding all along. Why now? Because every part of your life has quietly come into alignment. The wilderness preserved your tenderness. Silence sharpened your discernment. Waiting formed a trust that could not have grown any other way. Every place you lived, every conversation, every disappointment you carried without bitterness, and every unseen act of faithfulness became part of the same story. Even the prayers of those who came before you echo through your life in ways you may never fully understand. Every generation leaves seeds it may never see bloom, and your life has become part of that unfolding story. Think again of Hannah. Her life became the place where something history had never seen entered the world. Think of Mary, chosen not because of status, but because her life had been prepared for what only she could carry. The pattern has always been the same. God does not simply choose the strongest life. He prepares the life shaped for the moment it was created to meet. Chosen one. That is why comparison has never belonged to your journey. You have measured your life against paths that were never yours to walk. There has never been another life with your history, your tenderness, your questions, or your preparation. Everything that has been forming within you has been waiting for this moment, the complete gathering of your life into the person you have become, and perhaps, for the first time, you can begin to see that nothing essential was ever missing. Everything has been arriving in its appointed time. Chosen one, this is where many people quietly lose sight of what God has been doing in their lives. Awakening is only the beginning, because what God plants within you also asks for your participation. Everyone who faithfully carried a calling before you understood this in one form or another. Before the world recognized what God was growing in them, they first learned to recognize it themselves. That private recognition matters more than most people realize. Many people wait for someone else to affirm their gift, confirm their direction, or tell them they truly are who they quietly hope to become. When that affirmation never comes, they begin believing they were overlooked. Yet the absence of recognition has never been proof that you were not chosen. More often, it is an invitation to begin where every lasting calling begins, in the quiet place where only God can see. I want to give you a simple practice, and I ask you to receive it slowly. Sometimes the smallest acts become the doorway through which the deepest transformations enter our lives. What seems ordinary today may reveal what God has been quietly forming for much longer than you realize. Each morning, before you reach for your phone, before the world reminds you who it thinks you are, sit quietly for a moment. Then write one sentence, exactly 7 words. Let those words describe what you believe God is forming within you, not your fears, not your wishes, simply what your heart already recognizes is beginning to take shape. 7 words leave no room to hide behind explanation. They invite honesty instead of performance. Often the clearest truths arrive in the simplest language. When you finish writing, read the sentence aloud once. Speak it only into the silence of the room, with no audience and no need for anyone else's response. Resist the urge to share it immediately. There is something sacred about allowing truth to take root in your own heart before asking the world to acknowledge it. Words spoken too quickly for approval become performances. Words first spoken before God become something different. They begin shaping the one who speaks them. In that quiet place, where there is nothing to prove, your heart learns to agree with what heaven has already been whispering. Continue this practice for 21 mornings. Some days the sentence will stay the same. Other days it will gently change as your understanding unfolds. Do not rush the process. Formation rarely feels dramatic while it is happening. At the end of those 21 days, read every sentence again in order. You may discover that what seemed like separate thoughts has quietly become one story. A pattern will emerge that could never have been planned, because it was never born from strategy. It grew from faithful attention. I want to share a story that has stayed with me. Years ago, there was a woman whose name will remain private because the truth matters more than her identity. She had built a stable life, fulfilled her responsibilities, yet quietly carried the feeling that God had created her for something she could not yet name. One evening, she wrote a single sentence in a notebook, closed it, and tucked it away. Years passed. Then an unexpected opportunity found her. As someone described the person they had been searching for, she realized they were describing almost exactly what she had written in that forgotten notebook years before. In that moment she understood something profound. The quiet agreement she had made in private had already begun shaping the life she would one day step into. That is why hidden faithfulness carries such quiet power. The unseen places of your life are never empty. Every sincere agreement you make with God leaves its mark long before anyone else sees the fruit. What grows in silence often becomes the strongest part of the story, because it was formed without applause. Chosen one, this practice is not about productivity or striving harder. It is about becoming a faithful witness to the work God is already doing within you. Sometimes your own heart must become the first place where your calling is fully welcomed before it can be recognized anywhere else. Even now, another layer waits beneath everything we have uncovered together. It gathers every thread, the waiting, the wilderness, the hidden preparation, and the quiet recognition, and weaves them into one truth. Stay with me for one more breath. The three revelations we have been walking through are like separate notes, beautiful on their own, yet only revealing their full meaning when they are finally heard together. The first showed you that what looked like delay was, in truth, divine precision. The second revealed that God has been forming something entirely new within you. And now we stand at the edge of the deeper harmony they have been leading toward all along. The second revelation showed you that what has been growing within you is not a repaired version of your old life, but something entirely new, born from God's creative purpose. The third revealed that this moment is arriving because every part of your journey has quietly come into alignment. Your waiting, your losses, your questions, and your unseen faithfulness have become one story that could only be written through your life. When these truths stand together, they reveal something far greater than any one of them could reveal alone. Listen carefully, chosen one, because this changes the way you see everything that came before. God is not doing something unprecedented simply because this moment is extraordinary. He is doing something unprecedented because there has never been another life exactly like yours. Never another heart shaped by the same tenderness, the same hidden prayers, and the same quiet perseverance. History has known many faithful people, but it has never known you. Hear this slowly. You were never chosen merely to witness the impossible. In a way only God fully understands. Your life has become part of the reason this work can now enter the world. What has been prepared, required, the person you became through every season you questioned, every disappointment you carried, and every quiet act of faithfulness that no one else applauded. Perhaps for the first time, hear the Father's heart this way. I have never walked this path through another life because there has never been another you. The waiting was never punishment or rejection. The years that felt painfully slow to you were unfolding with perfect care in my hands. Some truths only become visible after enough time has passed for us to recognize the wisdom that has been quietly guiding us all along. The door that once seemed locked has already begun to move. Dawn never forces its way into the sky. It arrives when light and horizon finally meet. There's never been another sunrise exactly like the one breaking across your life, because there has never been another soul carrying this exact story into this exact season. Chosen one, perhaps that is why your path has never looked ordinary. Some people preserve what already exists. Others are prepared to walk where no clear path has yet been made. Some lives become bridges because they stand between what has been and what is still becoming. Some hearts quietly break generational patterns simply by remaining faithful where others lost hope. Let that settle for a moment. Your delays were never empty. Your hidden years were never wasted. The shape of your life has been forming a vessel unlike any that came before it. And that unique formation is part of the answer you have been searching for. Yet recognition is only the beginning. What God awakens within you must also be received. There are places inside every heart that slowly close after years of disappointment. Wonder becomes cautious. Trust becomes guarded. The childlike openness that once reached toward life without fear grows quiet beneath heartbreak and the ordinary weight of surviving each day. Perhaps you have noticed the change in yourself. There was a time when hope came naturally and possibility arrived before doubt. Then life slowly taught you to protect yourself until one day you realized you had forgotten what openness once felt like. The beautiful truth is that what became quiet was never lost. Beneath every layer of fear remains the part of you that still knows how to trust, still knows how to wonder, and still recognizes God's voice when the noise finally settles. It has simply been waiting for the right season to breathe freely again. This season is not about becoming someone completely different. It is about allowing what God faithfully preserved within you to return to the light. Little by little, peace arrives more easily. Hope no longer feels as dangerous. You stop forcing doors because you trust that the ones meant for you will open at the appointed time. The tenderness God preserved was never your weakness. It was always part of your preparation. Perhaps that is the deepest restoration of all, not becoming someone new, but remembering the person God quietly protected beneath every difficult season. The child who still knew how to wonder, the heart that still believed goodness could find it. The chosen one who never disappeared, only waited for the appointed time to rise into the light. When the part of you that learned to survive begins to grow quiet, something beautiful returns. Curiosity comes back before certainty. Wonder slips into ordinary moments again, and your heart remembers what it felt like before disappointment taught it to brace for the worst. Many people think that moment is the finish line, but it is only the beginning. Awakening the childlike heart is one part of the journey. Learning to receive what God has been preparing is the other. An open heart still needs the courage to believe that what has been promised can truly be welcomed. Long ago, Jesus said the kingdom belongs to those who become like little children. A child receives love without calculating whether it has been earned. A child reaches with open hands before fear teaches those hands to close. Somewhere along the road of growing older, many of us quietly forgot what that felt like. Perhaps you recognize it in your own life. You wake already carrying tomorrow's worries. Your shoulders tighten before the day even begins. Beneath your thoughts runs a quiet current of survival, whispering that you must keep striving and keep preparing for disappointment. Over time, that way of living makes receiving more difficult than working. You become skilled at carrying responsibility, but uncertain how to receive grace. You endure faithfully, yet struggle to rest. Even while reaching toward what God has prepared, part of your heart quietly wonders whether it was ever meant for someone like you. Chosen one. That hesitation is not your identity. It is simply the echo of years spent protecting yourself. Beneath every layer of caution, the heart God first formed within you is still there, waiting patiently to breathe again. Real restoration begins when those two parts of your life finally meet. Childlike wonder returns, and alongside it comes a deeper trust that allows you to receive without constantly questioning whether you deserve what God is giving. You stop measuring every blessing against your past failures. Slowly your hands open because your heart no longer believes it must defend itself from every good thing. This kind of change rarely arrives all at once. It unfolds quietly, like dawn entering a room. One day gratitude comes more easily. Another day you stop forcing every outcome. Then, almost without noticing, peace begins making decisions that fear once made for you. Maybe you have spent years searching for the one answer that would change everything overnight. Yet lasting transformation usually grows through faithful surrender, gentle honesty, and the quiet willingness to let God restore what life slowly taught you to hide. If part of you still wonders whether this restoration could truly belong to you, hear this gently. The deepest work of God has never depended on perfect performance. It has always begun with a heart willing to say yes before every question has been answered. Chosen one, perhaps the greatest miracle is not becoming someone entirely different. Perhaps it is becoming fully present, again recovering the openness that fear buried, the trust that disappointment covered, and the quiet confidence God never stopped seeing in you. When those parts awaken together, you no longer live only from survival. You begin living from remembrance. Maybe that is what those ancient words were pointing toward all along. Becoming like a little child is not about becoming less mature. It is about returning to a heart that can receive the Father's goodness without shrinking from it, bargaining for it, or believing it belongs to everyone except you. Chosen one. Every journey of restoration unfolds differently, because every life carries a different story. Some hearts are learning to trust again. Others have rediscovered that quiet openness, but are still learning how to receive what God has been preparing. There is no comparison to make and no race to win. What matters is your willingness to keep walking with the one who has been shaping you through every hidden season. The goal has never been perfection. Every season uncovers another layer of healing, another invitation to surrender, another chance to loosen fear's grip. The life waiting for you has simply been asking for your willingness to become the person God has quietly been forming all along. Pause with me for one slow breath. Place a hand over your heart if it feels natural, or simply close your eyes. This is not a moment of pressure, but a moment of recognition. The deepest decisions are often made so quietly that no one else ever knows they happened. What has been spoken today does not end when these words become silent. It has already settled deeper than thought into the part of you that has carried questions for longer than you can remember. That part does not need more convincing. It only needs permission to rest in what it already recognizes. Chosen one, you came into this moment carrying more than pain. You carried years of feeling unseen, years of wondering whether the quiet stirring inside you meant anything at all. Years of trying to fit yourself inside a story that always felt too small. Yet something has already begun to loosen its grip. You will not leave exactly as you arrived, not because every question has been answered, but because recognition changes the one who receives it. Once your heart sees something, it has always known beneath the surface. It cannot completely return to the old way of seeing itself. Imagine a doorway standing quietly before you. It is unlike any doorway you have ever seen. Yet something about it feels strangely familiar, as though it has been waiting for you longer than you have been searching for it. Notice the wood beneath your hand. Its grain carries the story of your life, every joy, every disappointment, every unanswered prayer woven together into something whole. Beneath the door rests a thin line of morning light, gentle and patient, asking nothing of you except your presence. You do not need to open the door today. Simply stand before it. Feel what it is like to arrive without forcing anything. This doorway belongs to your journey alone, and no one else can walk through it for you. Rest your hand against the door, and notice the quiet steadiness rising inside you. Not excitement that fades tomorrow, but a deeper readiness settling into the place where your true decisions are made. Transformation often begins long before the first visible step. Know this, chosen one. When the time comes, the door will not require force. The years you once believed were empty have already prepared the hinges. Every season of waiting has quietly made this moment possible. What once felt like delay has become the reason the doorway now opens with peace instead of struggle. Remain there for one more breath. Let the image slowly fade, but allow the recognition to remain. Pictures may pass, yet the truth that has found your heart today will continue walking with you. Before we leave this place, let gratitude speak where fear once had the loudest voice. Give thanks for the years that looked empty, but were shaping unseen strength. Give thanks for the tenderness that survived, for every quiet prayer, every hidden act of faithfulness, and every moment that helped form the person you are becoming. Remember those who walked before you. Hannah carried hope through long seasons of silence. Mary answered with trust before she understood the whole story. Their lives remind us that history often changes through ordinary people who remain available to God. There is one last thing to release. For years you have carried a small picture of yourself painted by disappointment, misunderstanding, and fear. That picture was shaped by circumstances, not by your true identity. It belongs to seasons you have already walked through, not to the person standing here today. You do not have to fight that old picture. Simply set it down. Let it leave the private words you speak over yourself when no one else is listening. Release its hold over what you believe you are allowed to hope for, receive, or become. Chosen one, you have carried that weight long enough. What belongs to you now is the quiet truth your heart has been preparing to embrace. Receive these words slowly. Let each one settle before the next arrives. I receive the hour I was created for without apology. I receive my life exactly as it has been shaped, trusting that nothing essential has been missing. I receive what God is forming within me without making it smaller for the comfort of others. I receive the calling woven through my ordinary days with all its tenderness and purpose. I receive the truth that my life carries a purpose greater than I have yet seen, in humble agreement with what God has spoken. Remain with me in the silence a little longer. Simply breathe. Some agreements are written beneath words, in the quiet places where a life slowly changes direction. And in that stillness, hear the Father speaking gently to your heart. Chosen one, what has been growing within you has always belonged to me. What is about to unfold through your life has never been forgotten. The years you called delay were never wasted in my hands. Every season carried its exact purpose, and now the hour you have been walking toward is before you. Walk forward without returning to the smaller story you once believed. The door has been opening through every unseen prayer and every hidden act of faithfulness. What has been spoken cannot simply disappear because this moment ends. What has been received has already become part of you. Once your heart truly recognizes something, it carries that recognition into every tomorrow that follows. The dawn rising within you belongs to no one else's story. It carries a light that has never entered the world in exactly this way before. Your life has its own timing, its own shape, and what God is bringing through you could only arrive through your unique journey. Before you leave, I want to ask one simple thing. If these words gave language to something your heart has carried for a long time, write in the comments, I am the reason. Write it as an agreement, not as a performance. Another chosen one may read those words and realize they are not walking this road alone. If this message met you exactly when you needed it, leave a like as a quiet expression of gratitude. If you know someone carrying these same silent questions, share this message with them, not to convince them, but to let them know they have been seen. Chosen one, nothing that truly belongs to you can be taken away by leaving this moment. Recognition has already found its home within you. No passing doubt can erase what your spirit has already recognized. Walk gently into whatever part of the day awaits you. You do not have to force what comes next. You only have to remain available to it. The light rising within you has never been late. It has always been waiting for this exact moment, this exact breath, this exact version of you. Chosen one, you are the reason.